All right, everybody, welcome back to Alternative Finance. My name is Alex, and today we are kicking off our Investing for Dummies series. We have 30 days of content coming to you, 30 different topics, all extremely basic investing 101 type of topics. So if you're ready for that, strap in and here we go. So we're going to start out really nice and basic. I got a pretty nice progression of how I want to do this. I'm pretty happy with the order we're going to do it in. It all should flow pretty nicely, and we're not going to dive super intricately into anything necessarily in particular. Everything we're covering here at the beginning and this little series here is going to be basic. We're going to try to keep it low to the ground. So if you're ready for that, let's jump to it. So we're going to start off with a very basic one to start out, and we're going to start out with how does interest work? So first things first, what is interest? Interest is the cost of borrowing money or the reward for saving or investing money. Okay. It is typically expressed as a percentage of the principal amount, the original, which is the original amount of money that you borrowed or invested over a specific period. So let's break that down real quick. So you can either be on the borrowing side of this or on the lending side of this, right? So there are ways that you can pay interest versus ways that you can receive interest. Okay, so it's typically expressed as a percentage of the principal amount. So the principal amount is going to be the amount of money that you either borrowed or invested. So what's the dollar figure in question here? That is your principal amount. And how much interest is usually going to be given to you as a percentage of that, usually like an annual percentage. So if you're getting paid out every month and it says 5%, you're not going to receive that full 5% every single month. You'll receive 5% a year. So if you're receiving it monthly, divided by 12, and that's how that would go. So over a specified period, so that will probably be more for products like CDs and bonds. When you have it like in a savings account, there's not really a specified period. It kind of rolls continuously, but we are getting ahead of ourselves. So let's kind of move on here and first talk about whether it's going to be simple or compound interest. So what the heck is the difference of those two? So let's start with simple interest. So simple interest, this is calculated only on the principal amount. So remember, that principal amount is the amount, the original dollar figure amount. So if the amount in this particular equation is $1,000, I'm investing $1,000. So I'm the lender in this circumstance, and I'm lending out $1,000 to whoever. We'll cover that in a bit. And now I'm going to receive interest as payment, as reward for my letting them borrow my money. So if I invest $1,000 at simple interest rates of 5% for 3 years, what would that look like? So in year one, I would earn 5%, which is $50. So that first year I get $50. Pretty awesome. Year two, you get $50. Year three, this is going to be really boring, but you get $50. And you can see there that you're basically getting 5% of your original investment, your principal, $1,000. 5% of that is $50. You get that every single year for a total of $150. So what is compound interest? So compound interest is when you take the amount and you calculate it based off the principal, so what I originally put in, plus any interest. See, now that is a very key distinction. So what does that mean? Let's take a look at it. If I invest that same $1,000, we are looking at 5% for 3 years compounded. So year one, I get 5% on my $1,000. I get $50, no different than the first scenario. But we move into year two, and if you look at year two, I have $1,050 there where I'm getting my 5% based off of. The reason for that is, let's go back to the top there. Compounding interest is calculated based off of the principal, what I put in, as well as any interest. Any interest is going to be added into the amount, and now I'm going to earn interest on my interest. So that $50 I got the first year gets added into my principal. I'm earning 5% on that $1,050, and this year I got $5,250. Woo! And in year three, we are going to do the same thing again, and 5% on my $1,102.50 is going to be a whopping $55.13. Give yourself a round of applause. You did it. I know that does not seem like a crazy amount of money, but guys, trust me, compounding interest is a game changer, and we will go over that in detail in another video at another time, but it makes a huge difference when that interest can earn on top of the principal. So Are you the borrower or the lender, right? Because which one you are is definitely going to make a difference in terms of how you feel about the interest. So let's talk about those two different scenarios. Let's first talk about the borrower perspective. So I'm the borrower. I'm borrowing money from somebody else, therefore paying interest to them for letting me borrow that money. So when you take out a loan or use a credit card, you pay interest to the lender as a fee for borrowing their money. So basically what I just said. Now, what are some examples, some common examples of where you might be a borrower? Super common one in a mortgage, right? You are borrowing money from the bank in order to purchase the house, assuming you don't pay cash. If you pay cash, you're using your money and you wouldn't be borrowing anything. But assuming you're not doing that, most circumstances people are borrowing money from a bank to purchase their home, and then they pay the bank back and they pay them interest. So mortgage is a super common one. Likewise, auto loans, personal loans, pretty similar, and credit cards. That is a big one, and I want to stop right there, you guys, and say if you are in any kind of high interest consumer debt, particularly credit card debt, this should be a top priority to resolve. High interest consumer debt can make achieving savings goals virtually impossible. Credit cards are fine, just try not to carry a balance, aka pay it off monthly. So, I know this might be a little bit out of the what is interest kind of lesson, but I wanted to take a moment right here to express this because it is critically important. If you have debt that is costing you in excess of 15-20% interest, that needs to be resolved. There's very, very little ways that you can out earn that, and definitely it's going to be a very difficult thing to get out from underneath, let alone start saving and increasing your savings in addition to that. So if we have high interest debt, pay it off. Moving on. All right, so now let's flip over to the lender perspective. So this is the fun stuff. This is where we're making the money, right? Now we are letting somebody borrow our money in return for some interest. Pay me that money. So when you save or invest money, banks or institutions pay you interest as a reward for letting them use your money. So yes, quite literally, you're going to leave your money at the bank and they are going to use that money to invest and try to out earn the interest that they're paying you. That's basically what they do with bank deposits. And again, you're going to get interest in order to let them borrow your money. So what are some common examples where you might be a lender, right? Start off super simple. Savings accounts. Now I put HYSA, that is a high yield savings account. So any kind of savings account, you're basically letting the bank hold on to your money for you. Certificates of deposit, so CDs, definitely you're locking up for usually a pretty specified amount of time, usually a year, 2 years, 3 years at the upper end, but locking that money in and you're going to receive maybe a little bit more interest than you would for a savings account. Likewise, bonds, some insurance products, that's generally where you could look and expect to see some interest getting paid off to you. So, how is interest taxed? Boo! We just talked about making the money and we're already talking about the taxes. We always got to talk about the taxes, you guys. So let's talk about interest and how it is taxed. But when interest is earned from things like savings accounts, CDs, corporate bonds, things like that, it's going to be taxed as ordinary income. So in most circumstances, in most common circumstances, interest is going to be paid out to you as income. So that means it's added to your total income for the year and it's taxed at your normal income tax rate. So make it even simpler than that. Talk to me like I'm 5, Alex. Basically, any interest you make gets added onto your salary. So if you made $50,000 at your job, you made $5,000 in interest. As far as the IRS is concerned, you made $55,000. So you're going to pay taxes on $55,000. Usually with your job, you're either paying estimated payments or they're withholding that tax for you along the way. So that $5,000 in interest, you will be responsible for coming up with the taxes for that. So if you want to make sure you're putting money away ahead of time to compensate for that, make sure you're doing that because you will pay income tax on any interest that you earn in these saving vehicles that we're talking about here. Now, are there any exceptions to this? And the answer to that, you guys, is of Of course, there are exceptions to this. So, first of all, Treasury and municipal bonds. So, those types of bonds will likely have at least some sort of tax benefits, whether it's getting you exempt from federal taxes, state taxes, and or both. Bonds definitely can have some tax advantages. Not corporate bonds usually, but governmental bonds will have some sort of tax advantage usually. Retirement accounts. So if you have a 401k or an IRA or things like that, any type of interest happening in those accounts is not being actively taxed. So it's growing tax deferred or tax free potentially on what kind of account it is. But anything operating in a retirement account, you're not going to actively be paying income tax on that amount. Likewise, 529s, education accounts, savings bonds, and again, insurance products. Insurance products can be a little wonky. I'm not the hugest fan of insurance products for investment purposes. They do have their place, but yes, they can have tax exemptions and certain tax benefits within them with the insurance products as well. So that is going to wrap us up, you guys, for our very first lesson on interest and how it works. What is it? Little disclaimer. Always, always, always consult a financial professional if you're looking for personalized advice. That should be a given, but we're always going to say it here. And I hope you guys enjoyed this first lesson on interest. We'll be back tomorrow with another one talking about FDIC insurance and how that works. So if that sounds interesting to you and you want to come along this journey with us, feel free to give our video a like, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment with your thoughts. And until next time, you guys, that's Finance AF.